Well, hi everybody. My name is Michael Hilkemeyer from ICTE Solutions Australia, and it's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce you to Janet Moeller. Is that how you pronounce your name right?
Get it.
Moeller?
Yeah.
Oh, great. It's
Yeah.
always,
Totally
one of those, you know, tricky areas. Thank you so much, for joining me today, to share with us your experience
Mm.
as an educational leader, and to share with where you are now and what you're doing. It means so much to me, personally. That that you give these opportunities. So, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I just want to, for anyone who's watching, a little bit about your background. So, you've been a principal of the Lutheran school at Wagga Wagga.
Mhm.
You've been a head of junior school and an educational leader in an international school in Hong Kong. So you've been around, Janet.
I have. I've been in schools on 3 continents, and it's been very interesting to see the differences in approaches from the different countries. I also had the privilege of seeing technology develop over those times. Beginning with those Apple monitors. I can't remember what you called the early Apple computers that we had back in the States in the 90s. But I think my interest in technology really took off in Hong Kong, where we had an international school of 2,600 students. So it was K to year 12, and a whole team of not only a technology team who did the technology stuff, but technology educators that we could learn from. They brought in the one-to-one devices for the first time. But I think one of my big wonderings about technology happened in Hong Kong. Any of you that are old enough to remember 2003 and the SARS epidemic? It was a pre-COVID virus that came out in Hong Kong and Greater China. Um, and I remember once it broke out, I was thinking, how are we going to go to school? It's 2003. I guess we're going to close out the end of the year. What's going to happen? And the deputy head of school brought us all back to Hong Kong and said, look, we're going to try something new. We're going to try to do school online. And if you remember the technology in 2003, you had email. There was a Microsoft front page, I think, that we worked on that went onto a special internet drive. And we were one of the first schools to ever try putting school online. I remember dealing with the emails and I wish there was a way that we could get a small group of children in a virtual room where I could talk to them all on the screen. And certainly since then, the technology has developed to a place where learning management systems have taken hold. And by the time we got to COVID, as emotionally draining as that was, and all the social emotional skills that we're still catching up on, at least the technology was there so we could see one another, we could distribute things, we could communicate relatively well.
Oh, fantastic. So, it was kind of like like you said, it was a pre-COVID sort of um, test for all of you in there where you were, and yeah, instantly, we need to go online,
Mm.
which is what we did the last couple of
Yeah.
years. So,
Yeah.
you would have been, quite familiar with that sort of process, right? Another pandemic, just get onto it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
No, there were some things that I definitely remembered when people asked questions, and I said, "Look, we have the technology to do it now, and I'm happy to lead that, but be prepared for the emotion of it. It's probably going to be the hardest thing."
and so with that sort of experience, Janet, um, were you teaching, when COVID occurred, and how did you share that experience with your colleagues then?
Mm. I was a head of junior school at that point. We were using a Microsoft platform, and we also had a learning management system. I don't know if I should name them, but what I noticed about the Microsoft system as well as the learning management system is each of them were built for secondary schools at that point, at least, more than they were built for primary schools. So, for example, trying to get a kindergarten or a year one student to log in with a password and to remember where their file is and to use SharePoint. And they're still learning their letters. So even to find the D on the keyboard was a big ask for them. I did notice that Seesaw had already started up in their space, and that was hugely helpful because when you were dealing with kindergarten, sorry, prep in Victoria or Foundation and other places, and the year one, year two students, to let them take a picture of what they were learning and record in the background. Having that online portfolio, watching them add some of their assessment systems and rubric systems has been good. I haven't watched that the last couple of years. I'm interested to see where actually I need to catch up and find out where they are at this point. Um, but you could see that the technology was moving with the needs of the students.
In your role as a junior, as the head of junior school, uh, in what other ways, did you find yourself supporting technology integration?
I think you have to listen a lot to the teachers and what they need and where they're at. I think when I first started in leadership, I looked at what the teachers need to know and how do I get them there. What I've learned over time is to listen to where the teachers are, to ask them what they're trying to do, and then have them explore a couple of various solutions and make some decisions themselves. I think that was really important because, like I said, many of the learning management systems are geared toward you have a class at 9 o'clock and the kids can already do these things. But if you're really looking at what a year one teacher needs compared to where a year five or six teachers, students are at and what they need, those are very different spaces. It's also complicated with the different curriculum formats or frameworks that you're using. For example, if you're using a project-based framework or an inquiry framework or an IB inquiry framework, those have different requirements than what they would need up at the senior school levels. So for me, it was about listening to where they're at, listening to what they need next, and then helping them explore those solutions.
Yep. During that time, what sort of new technology, were you experimenting with? And what sort of success did you have with that?
Uh, Really depended on the teachers at the time. What I haven't been able to do as a leader successfully is find one system that does everything that all the teachers need, given the wide range of, I guess, learning levels and skills that students have from age 5 to 12 or 13. Um, I guess that's one of the holes that are bridges that I'm trying to, gaps that I'm trying to bridge right now with my own work. I guess one of the examples that I'm working with right now is trying to create a solution that can help teachers when they get in a new student who has learning needs, but they're not sure yet what those needs are. When you're in a kindergarten or a year one classroom, it's not unusual for you to get a student mid-year and you look at them and you can see that they can't read and they're having trouble with spelling, but you really have no other information. There's no diagnoses. You're trying to manage the behavior, and especially at that age, at all ages really, but at that age,
Mm.
behavior is a form of communication. So if they're acting out in class, it might be that they have a behavior problem, but it might be that they have just another need that's not getting met. And you're trying to play detective and figuring out what's going on at the same time of building relationships and keeping the relationships with the other students. So when I look at the learning management systems that currently exist, I see some big holes there. For those schools that are typing lesson plans in, they have a box for differentiation. But how does that connect with strengths and needs of children? How does that connect with IEPs? How can that bring to front of mind the strengths that students bring to their lessons as well as the needs that they bring to their lessons? So that's something that we're trying to solve. One of the thoughts that I have was thinking in terms of the RTI triangle, which is a school-based approach. What if we're thinking more personalized and we think instead in terms of a diamond where the high end is what they do really well and the RTI triangle is inverted? So the areas
Yep.
that are down at the bottom. And how do we match the needs with the strengths that they're bringing and then be able to suggest to teachers some places where they can start with the students before they've had the formal observations, before they've had diagnoses? How can we help them get started in that space? And how do we cater our lessons to consider those needs and those strengths?
Um, what was I going to ask you? It slipped my
That was a
mind.
lot of information. Sorry.
Oh yeah. You know, can you recall like, like as an educational leader, um, what was like, some of the, uh, key issues or concerns that teachers or yourself might have had about technology integration at the time, and how did you sort of help them jump those hurdles?
It actually didn't start with the technology. I guess what I remember or what I saw most as the pain points is really losing sleep over what do I do with students. I really care about the student and I don't know what to do. In some ways, technology could help that. We had students that were good with technology and could be independent when they were on technology. Um, Technology could be a tool to help them, but didn't necessarily solve the problem. The other thing I heard from them was that there were just lots of meetings and never had enough time. And I'm thinking about the computer monitors that we all have and teachers as well that are covered in post-its over all the things that they needed to do. Primary teaching, as you know, is highly relational. You need the time and the energy and the space to be there for the children. So if you're there for a child and you're supporting them through an incident, but then you have to log it, the incident, then that
Yeah,
becomes it goes on your computer. If you know that you need to have an observation or to write up their IEPs or report card comments, those are a lot of the things that got in the way or teachers felt got in the way of them developing those authentic relationships or having time for the authentic relationships with children and with each other. It brings so I guess when I think in the primary space, there's some great work right now that's been in the teaching and planning and rubric space, and that's great. That's 90% of the time that we spend and that we want to spend because
yeah,
that's about students and being with them right now. But the space I'm thinking about is what are all the admin things that when teachers talk about workload or being overworked or not having time to do things, what are those pain points that
yeah.
are taking them away from those things that they really want to do?
Yeah.
So for
Um,
yeah, so
in
I guess
junior school, how did you sort of help the progression of children's capabilities in technology, uh, progress from early childhood in through to um, you know, year five or year six levels?
I think when we started with what the teachers knew needed to be done or what their pain points were and what the needs were, then it regularly naturally filtered down into what do we need to teach the children to help them become more independent in this space. So in the early years, for example, during remote learning and those even before that, we were teaching foundation, kindergarten, prep, year one, year two students to take pictures of their work and to even write a few words about what they were learning or what they were working on as a learner. So it was connecting the work they were doing with metacognition, with initiative,
Yeah,
with taking ownership for their learning, which was really important in that space. By the time they got to years 5 and 6, they could upload and download and do all the things that they needed to do. And so once they realized what the children could do to create, to communicate, and to collaborate online, they taught them the tools that they needed to do that. So rather than talking about specific tool, it's more about learning, thinking about what you want the students to achieve, and how you can help them, what skills you need to progress to teach them those practical things.
yeah,
That varied from school to school. Schools are in very different stages in their technology development. Some of the technology had to be done because, for example, if your whole school is taking on a learning management system, everybody, teachers, students, everyone need to learn how to work within that system. If they don't have a learning management system that goes across, it can be a bit of hit and miss in different places. And it's about bringing the school along to what does the school need then and what's the best way to align it. And
yeah,
then what are the best tools, knowing that every tool has a hole.
yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like, you've drawn a lot from your past experience, yes, as education leader, and in technology integration, to help you to, be where you are now. So, you've left, school, and you've now started your own educational software um, business. So what was the sort of the catalyst, and to sort of say, well, I need to sort of go one step further and do this.
Hmm. For me personally, look, there's a lot being at the top of the org chart, so to speak, that you're doing with relation to policy and HR and finance and all those things that were I could do, but they weren't my passion. What I realized was my passion was to take away those pain points that teachers had. Um, so right now like I said, I keep thinking about what are the things that are pain points for teachers where they feel overworked, that keep them up at night. And the conclusion that I've drawn for now is my vision is that every teacher deserves a personal assistant. And I don't think in our lifetime we're ever going to see a place where the financing of education is such where every teacher could have a personal assistant. But I think as we look into the machine learning world and the artificial intelligence area and the ability for computers to generate things, we should be able to take some of that documentation admin work off of teachers. That's what I'm looking to do, both in the learning support space, giving them ideas, but also taking away documentation, report card writing, incident reporting, those sorts of things that can keep them up at night when they really want to just focus on that relationship, the teaching and the learning space.
Um, I could, as a former teacher, as I said to you earlier, Janet, I can truly see the need for this. And over the past few years, the use of mobile technology in the classroom has really expanded. We're seeing, more laptops, teachers coming in with laptops, or tablet computers, such as iPads. And so, this new app that you're developing, I think, can really, be, a good source of, well, assistant to the teachers, to be able to, jump that hurdle of being able to understand a student much better in terms of, to help them create that relationship. So, you know, tell us a bit more about, about this app, and what are the, like you've mentioned some of the benefits. Where do you see this app, going to, helping in the future?
Like you said, it's about relationships with children. And so part of what I'm trying to research right now with teachers is when they talk about workload and admin, what are those things that we don't realize that we're double and we're triple handling? What are those post-its that are on our computers all the time of things that we need to follow up? For example, I think about the anecdotal notes that we write on students after a reading group. Um, we should be able now to be able to, instead of going back to the computer and typing in what we did with everybody, which is again time away from planning or communicating with parents, we should be able to take a picture of that and it automatically files things. We have the technology and the steps to be able to do that. We should be able to write a lesson plan like we normally do, but have it automatically um, infiltrate, autofill documents like individual education plans. Incident reports should be able to be stated from our phone and go to the right person with the right comments or in the right file, so that we don't have to always do something and go back and document it. So we are in, as a principal, I understand the need for compliance. I know the compliance regulations around NCCD data collection, which results in school funding, which helps our students. I know the child protection that we need to do, the communication with parents that we want to do and we need to do, but all of that documentation adds up. It becomes a real burden. for teachers, especially when you're doing the right thing and then you have to write up how you did the right thing and your next
Yeah.
steps and file them in the right places, access them so that you can summarize them again later. That's double, triple handling things that don't need to be double handled anymore.
Um, so yeah, on a final note, then Janet, what is it, that you would like, well, you've mentioned already quite a bit about it, but if there's something that you would like, my listeners to know, about, anything that you'd like, further that you'd like to sort of, you know, discuss with them about that.
I think really just thanking them for all the hard work that they put into teachers and know that there are people in the technology field that are thinking of them and that are trying to decrease their workload as much as humanly possible. Certainly my app's still in development. It's in design, architect design at this point. So hopefully watch this space. But I also hope that teachers will be in contact and say, look, these are real pain points of mine. How can you reduce my workload in this area? And I want to hear about it because ultimately I want to decrease your admin workload so that you can focus on the work that you love.
Okay. Well, in terms then of technology integration, um, and drawing on your past experience, what advice would you give a teacher who, at any level sort of thing, who may be hesitant, who is stuck, or, even any advice at all about technology integration?
I was gonna say this. Uh, it never hurts to try. There's a lot of fun things when you go online and you look at the Facebook ideas and the LinkedIn ideas and you start playing with open AI. Do be careful with data privacy with AI, please, please, please. Um, Consider that, but have fun. Just start enjoying the tools, and then it starts to click in your mind how this could be useful for that, and this might fit here. Certainly learn what your school wants you to learn as far as those learning management systems and things. Let them know what you need, but play, have a good time. It's hard to ruin things now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the term tool, in terms of technology is so, it's true, it's relevant, because truly, that's what we need to help children, understand what it is, and teachers. But by teachers modeling technology as a tool for learning, um, then students will be able to pick up on that as well, and be able to use it more constructively, as a tool, to enhance, key learning outcomes, and improve their attainment levels as well.
Really. Well,
Um,
technology can be in the communication space, it can be in the collaboration space, and it can be in the creativity space, especially with students. And those are three areas to explore. There's no one app that does it all, at least not right now, but they're fun tools to explore.
Fantastic. Well, do you have a website, Jenna, that people can sort of find more information about this app that you're developing, and get in touch with you?
That will be up next month. So watch the space and I will.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That sounds so great.
Looking forward
So
to it.
great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Janet, for your time, and your experience, expertise this morning. As I said, it's been, my pleasure and privilege to meet you. And I, hope that we, stay in touch, because I'd love to sort of help, people like yourself along, and to share more of what you're doing, with my viewers. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, really. Thank you for the opportunity.
To learn more about how to successfully integrate technology into your early childhood learning environment, become a member of the ICT in Education Teacher Academy today and gain instant access to over 80 plus online PD workshops, webinar replays, technology integration lesson plans for early childhood education, and ebooks, all for just $20 per month. You'll find the link below this video in the description.